December 24th, 2008, Christmas Eve. What happens when the safest place in the world, your family home, becomes the deadliest? And what if the person at the door isn't a stranger, but someone who planned this moment for months? In Covina, California, a quiet house glows with warm Christmas lights. Inside, laughter, music, children waiting for Santa Claus. Outside, a man stands at the front door wearing a red suit and a white beard. Moments later, the house is on fire. 9 people are dead, and Christmas will never come again for this family. This isn't a story about the holidays. This is a story about obsession, revenge, and a man who turned Christmas into a weapon. Bruce Jeffrey Pardo was 45 years old, an electrical engineer, a man who lived by diagrams, circuits, and controlled outcomes. In the weeks leading up to Christmas, his life followed a rigid routine. Wake up, drive, work, come home, sit alone, think, rewind arguments in his head, replay conversations that had already ended. Each day looked identical. Each night ended the same way, awake, restless, calculating. The divorce had not arrived suddenly. It had dragged on, month after month of legal filings, meetings, paperwork. Silence punctuated by sharp bursts of conflict. Money became the center of everything. Who would get what? Who had taken more? Who had won? Bruce Pardo did not experience the divorce as loss. He experienced it as defeat. In his mind, the separation was not simply between 2 people. It was an exposure, a public unraveling, a judgment. And as Christmas approached, that feeling hardened into something colder, something heavier. He began to organize. Not emotionally, logistically. He made lists, checked supplies, reviewed plans the way an engineer reviews a system before it goes live. He purchased firearms, more than one. He stockpiled ammunition, hundreds of rounds, enough to ensure there would be no interruption, no moment where the plan could stall. Then came the device. Using basic materials and technical knowledge, he constructed a homemade flamethrower. Not experimental, not theoretical. Built to work, designed to spray gasoline with force, designed to ignite instantly, designed to turn enclosed spaces into traps. Every component had a purpose. Bruce Pardo tested nothing impulsively. He prepared quietly, carefully, each step reinforcing the next. This was not rage spilling over. This was rage being refined. As Christmas Eve approached, he selected clothing. Not dark, not tactical, not anonymous. He laid out a Santa Claus suit, red fabric, white trim, a beard, a costume meant to signal warmth, safety, celebration. Something familiar enough to disarm suspicion. Something that would guarantee the door would open. The symbolism was intentional. While homes filled with food and music, Bruce Pardo packed his vehicle. Weapons first, ammunition next. The flamethrower secured. The costume folded carefully on top, as if it were the most important item of all. He did not drink. He did not hesitate. He did not write a note. This was not a man spiraling out of control. This was a man narrowing his focus. In his thinking, the responsibility for everything, financial strain, humiliation, isolation, had been assigned. Blame had found its destination. The target was fixed, the timing chosen. Christmas Eve, a night when doors stayed unlocked, when families gathered together, when trust came easily. Bruce Pardo wasn't preparing for a confrontation. He wasn't seeking an apology. He wasn't hoping for reconciliation. He was preparing to remove something from existence. And once the plan was complete, once every piece was in place, there was nothing left to decide. Only one thing remained: execution. At approximately 11:30 p.m., Bruce Pardo's car slows as it turns onto a quiet residential street in Covina, California. The houses are dark. Most families are already asleep, but one home glows brighter than the rest. Inside, Christmas Eve is still alive. Relatives crowd the living room. Children move between rooms, fueled by sugar and excitement. Plates sit half-finished on tables. Music plays softly in the background. It's loud, warm, crowded, the kind of night that only happens once a year. No one notices the car pull up. Outside, Bruce Pardo steps out and adjusts the red fabric of the Santa suit. The beard covers most of his face. The hat sits low. The costume does exactly what it's supposed to do. It disarms suspicion. He walks to the front door and knocks. Footsteps approach from inside. Someone laughs. A voice calls out. The door opens. A young girl stands there. She looks up and smiles, wide and unguarded, because Santa Claus is standing on her porch. For a fraction of a second, everything is still. Then Pardo reaches inside the suit. The gun comes out. He fires. The bullet strikes her in the face. She drops instantly, collapsing backward into the doorway. Blood spreads across the floor. She doesn't scream. She doesn't move. But she's alive, barely. Inside the house, the sound detonates like a bomb. Screams erupt, chairs scrape. People freeze, confused, trying to understand what they just heard. Bruce Pardo steps over the child and into the house and begins shooting. Not wildly, not frantically, but deliberately. He moves forward, firing into rooms filled with people who have nowhere to go. Some try to run toward the back of the house. Others hide in closets, behind furniture, under tables. It doesn't matter. Pardo advances through the house with a calm that doesn't break. He fires until people fall, then keeps moving. The Santa suit darkens with smoke and blood. The beard shifts, half melted by heat and friction. Then he switches tactics. The gun lowers. The flamethrower comes up. Built from scrap parts and gasoline, it sprays fuel in wide arcs, coating walls, carpets, couches, curtains. The smell hits instantly, sharp, chemical, overwhelming. He ignites it. Fire races across the rooms faster than anyone can react. Flames climb walls. Smoke thickens. The temperature surges. Those still alive try to escape, but exits are blocked by fire. Windows are sealed. Visibility drops to nothing. Some are shot. Others are burned. Some suffocate where they hide. The house becomes a furnace. Gasoline ignites in pockets, causing explosions that shake the structure. Windows blow out. Flames burst through the roof. Black smoke pours into the sky, visible from blocks away. Outside, neighbors step onto their porches, confused at first, then terrified. They hear screams. They see fire rolling out of the house. They smell burning plastic, fuel, wood, and something worse. Multiple 911 calls flood in at once. Inside, the noise dies down. Bruce Pardo turns and walks back toward the front door. The Santa suit is failing now, fabric sticking to his skin, beard singed, parts of the costume melting from the heat. He steps outside as the house behind him collapses inward. By the time firefighters arrive, the structure is fully engulfed. There is nothing to save. The flames are too intense, the heat too dangerous. They fight the fire for hours. When it finally dies down, 9 bodies are found inside. Entire generations of a family, gone. And the man who walked in dressed as Santa Claus, he's already disappeared into the night. Only smoke remains, and silence. Bruce Pardo leaves the burning house without looking back. The Santa suit he wore as disguise is no longer a costume. Portions of it have melted into his skin, fused by heat and fuel. The pain is severe, but it doesn't slow him down. This was never meant to be an escape driven by panic. It was planned, timed, controlled. Pardo gets into his car and drives east, away from Covina, away from the sirens now converging on the firestorm he created. The streets are quiet. It's past midnight. Christmas Eve has turned into Christmas morning for most of the city, unaware of what just happened. He drives more than 30 miles to his brother's home in Silmar. When he arrives, he doesn't explain. He doesn't apologize. He doesn't ask for help. According to investigators, he says only one sentence: "I messed up." Inside the house, Pardo moves with urgency, but also finality. There is no attempt to flee further, no effort to treat his burns, no plan B. The man who meticulously prepared for mass murder never prepared for survival afterward. Police are already tracking him. Within hours, law enforcement surrounds the residence. There is no standoff, no negotiation. When officers enter the home, they find Bruce Pardo dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The threat is over, but the scope of what he planned is only beginning to surface. Inside the house, investigators discover hundreds of rounds of ammunition, additional firearms, and improvised explosive materials. Enough firepower to suggest that what happened in Covina was not the maximum damage Pardo intended. It was only what he managed to execute before everything collapsed. Back in Covina, firefighters continue working through the night. By the time the flames are extinguished, there is almost nothing left to recognize as a home. The roof has collapsed. Walls have buckled inward. The heat was so intense that bodies cannot be immediately identified. Investigators step into the ruins carefully. Christmas decorations, stockings, garlands, wrapped gifts are reduced to ash and melted plastic. Furniture is gone. Entire rooms are unrecognizable. What was once a family gathering space is now a blackened shell filled with smoke residue and silence. 9 people are confirmed dead. Some died from gunshot wounds, others from smoke inhalation, others from the fire itself. The exact sequence for each victim is difficult to determine because the fire destroyed nearly everything. A Christmas celebration has become a mass grave, and the man responsible never intended to face what he left behind. When the fire is finally extinguished, what remains of the house is no longer recognizable as a home. The roof has collapsed. The walls are blackened and unstable. The air is thick with smoke, gasoline residue, and silence. Firefighters move carefully through the ruins, stepping over debris that was once furniture, photographs, Christmas gifts waiting to be opened. Inside, they begin finding the bodies: mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers. 9 members of the same family, killed in minutes. Some were shot where they stood. Others were overtaken by flames as they tried to escape. Several died from smoke inhalation, hiding in rooms that offered no exit. The house didn't just burn, it trapped them. Investigators later determined that the fire burned so hot, fueled by gasoline sprayed deliberately through the rooms, that identifying remains took weeks. Dental records were required. In some cases, there was almost nothing left to identify at all. Only one victim survives the attack, the young girl who opened the door to Santa Claus. She lives, but her injuries are severe, her face permanently scarred, her life forever divided into before and after that knock at the door. She will carry the memory of that moment longer than anyone else. As the investigation unfolds, the scale of Bruce Pardo's planning becomes clearer. The flamethrower was homemade but precise. The weapons were preloaded. The ammunition stockpile was vast. This wasn't a loss of control, it was a sequence. Authorities conclude that Pardo intended to kill everyone inside the house, and possibly himself, leaving no witnesses behind. The crime shocks the nation. Christmas Eve, a Santa suit, an entire family nearly erased. The case becomes known as the Covina Christmas Massacre, one of the most devastating domestic mass murders in American history. But beyond the headlines, the damage continues quietly. Survivors grieve in fragments. Families mourn without answers that bring comfort. A neighborhood is left with an empty lot where a home once stood. And the story leaves behind a truth that law enforcement would repeat for years afterward. The most dangerous threats don't always come from strangers in the dark. Sometimes they come from inside families, from resentment left untreated, from rage dressed in something familiar. Sometimes they come wearing smiles, costumes, and the promise of joy. December 24th, 2008, a night meant for peace, turned into fire blood and silence. This wasn't madness. This was revenge, planned carefully, patiently, and deliberately. And the damage didn't end when the flames went out. If stories like this matter to you, if you believe the truth shouldn't stay buried, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment with your thoughts on the case. Because some crimes aren't finished telling their story, and this channel exists to uncover them.